Hello everyone and welcome back to Design Analysis. In this episode we'll be deconstructing this dress design. So let's get right to it. Okay, so I've chosen another simple design for deconstruction. Okay, so of course we're going to start as usual asking the question, what can we see? And what we see here is a simple dress design. Obviously the silhouette is an A-line silhouette, and it's got a V neckline, and then it's got some flare to it to add volume to the already A-line pattern. Okay, so there's this cut, and as you can see, we really can't see what the back looks like, but of course we can guess that the back will have the flare detail of the front. This flare detail, I'm sure the back will have that kind of flare detail too. Right, so the flare detail has pleats, right, as you can see. So before we get into the detailing, let's just explain it under the elements as usual. So the silhouette, like I explained, is an A-line silhouette. If you don't understand silhouettes, please watch the previous videos, especially the first introduction video, and then you'll be able to grasp what a silhouette is. Okay, so the silhouette is A-line. This doesn't have any fit. It is loose, like a tent dress. Okay, the fabric, of course, the fabric looks like something that is crepe. I'm not sure, but I can say maybe it's looks like something that is like crepe fabric, right? And then the symmetry, of course, the symmetry is symmetrical, because if you run a line right through it, you realize that it is symmetrical. What you have on the left is the same as what you have on the right. Okay, so that is symmetrical. And then what about the construction? We can see the neckline. It's got a V neckline. We can see that there's a center front seam rather, and then there's a V neckline. So, and there are no dots, because the dot has been transferred into the fullness to give that A-line silhouette. And of course we have pleats. I think the pleats here on the center front are actually bigger than the ones here. Right, so we have that. Okay, so for the construction, we can say it has a sloped V neckline, and then the dot positions, the dot has been transferred into the fullness, right. And of course we have pleats to add volume, right. So the back will most likely have a center back joining to at the CB to allow for this, right? Not that it is necessary, but you can have, and then it will have the same details as the front, right? So then the next thing to do is to decide what do you think is the pattern block that you need for this. Of course, you need your basic torso sloper or block. So you need a basic block, torso block, that goes beyond the hip, and then you lengthen it to the desired length, right? And then of course, to guesstimate, as usual, before you start drawing your pattern, you want to know the length and like that. So I'm actually doing just a guess here, an estimate here. So you can see that this dress looks like it's just right above the knee, and then you can use all this. So this is the knee length, and then you can use all this to just guess how it's going to be. So your first details is going to be right on the hip. And another detail here is that the height of this is not at the side. So the curve comes like this and then deepens into the side. So you should take note of that when drafting, right? So, and of course the the V-neck will probably be a little deeper than the chest line. So your chest line should be around here. So this should be around maybe the true bust line or bust line, right? Right. So that's that for that. And then what is the next thing? So the next thing, let's talk about the pattern. So talking about the pattern, of course, I said that you need your basic blocks, right? And then lengthen them to the knee length. And when you're done with that, the next thing to do is to transfer your darts. So if you are using a back bodice that has a shoulder dart, you can just transfer that into the hem, and then you open it up to get that A-line, silhouette, right? And another way of doing it is to control the fit around the back area, right? I prefer this method, but then of course it depends on the hand loop. So this gives you a more fitting dress right at the back, just like your bodice is fitted to right at the front, control till the bust area. Okay, so you can also do that, and then you have the darts or the pattern divided into two like this to control the fit around this area. Okay, so once you do that, you also transfer the shoulder darts that used to be here into the hem, right, for these bodies. And remember that for your sloped V, you have to do some contouring. That means introduce about 1 cm dart here, and then you pin it, and then you redraw the V neckline. That way you can avoid gape in a pattern that has a low neckline, right? So when you have that, when you've done all that, then the next thing is for you to draw. So the next thing for you to draw in your shape, remember, and then you can just draw in the shape. This is the front. Draw in the shape like this and let it peak right here at the hip line, and then it comes down to the side. Okay, and then introduce the pleats. There's a pleat right at the center before another pleat, then you have the several pleats. All right, and then remember to true them, and then your pattern is ready for sewing. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two. So before I go, the question for this week, obviously we've learned something about contouring, right? And then I said that it can be used to prevent gape around the neckline, right? So tell me right in the comment section, what are the other reasons we contour? For what other reasons do we contour our pattern? Okay guys, that is it for this episode. Thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.